In a world where the ground feels shaky and memory is optional, two men will rise, armed with microphones, dry humor, and a suspicious number of pill bottles. They'll face tremors, stiffness, and the ultimate challenge, recording a podcast without forgetting what they were talking about. This is where Parkinson's gets real. This is Life in Motion, the Parkinson's podcast. Rated P for please take your meds first. Now, grab your earbuds, unless you forgot where you put them. Then just turn the volume up because today's episode is ready to go. Now, here are Bryce and Brian.
How's your week been, Brian?
It was great. Battled some snow once again, but the snow, it doesn't win. It just takes your breath away.
Well, you know what? I always find it funny that, I guess, again, from being from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, when I hear people say battle snow, I'm like, you have never battled snow unless you've lived in Winnipeg.
This is true.
My gosh. You know what? I had a whirlwind week this week. Like, it was a crazy, crazy week. I had to travel actually to Toronto this week. And let me tell you, traveling with Parkinson's, it's an adventure. Between packing and airport security and trying to keep my meds on schedule. I swear, travel takes like twice the planning these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, because you've got a bit of a time difference, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. You're exactly right. I'm jumping from, Central to Eastern, and it's always this crazy thing that I have to start thinking about. And I know it's funny. I've talked to people before, and I don't know, Brian, if you've ever, struggled with this or even thought about it. But a lot of people are always confused. They're kind of going like, "Hey, I'm traveling. I'm changing time zones.
Yep.
How's it going to affect my meds? What am I going to do with my meds? So it's always this thing you have to kind of plan ahead. And have you ever thought it that way, or had you have that experience before?
Yeah, I have. I didn't do any traveling during COVID, obviously. Lori and I were on vacation in Hilton Head. We landed in Toronto March 13th, 2020, which was the day they locked down everybody. So we came from a vacation the 401 was great, I can tell you that much. We had to get to a grocery store as quickly as we could and then get home because that was the rules, right?
Yeah.
So, we took that 2 years off of traveling. But then after that, we took a trip to Jamaica. So again, dealing with time difference.
Nice.
And I call them the idiosyncrasies, with the side effects of our medication. You got to factor in how close do I want to sit to the bathroom on a plane. But it's important, right? How heavy can I lift something over my head to put in that overhead compartment? And the list goes on and on, right?
You know what? I used to be irritated in the old days with everybody, trying to put these, stuff their bag over in the overhead compartment, right? And I'm kind of going like, half the people, I'm like, there is no way that's the size of a carry-on. There is no way you fit that in the little slot. But anyway, they're struggling to do it. And I was raised to be a gentleman, right? And so I was on a bus, I'd give up my seat for somebody. And the one thing though is what I find challenging is that I'll be sitting, I'll kind of get my seat, and there will be somebody coming up, whether it be an elderly person or somebody else, and instinctively I want to get up and I want to help them because they're trying to get this bag over their shoulders and in the compartment. So instinctively I'm like, oh my God, I should get up and help them. And then the other part of me is going, if I get up and help them, it's going to be worse. Like if I try now, it's this whole process of getting out of those seats, which I'll talk about later, but getting out of the seat and then getting up, and now we trying to pick it up and get it in this slot, with no balance and the thing's moving around. So I don't move. I just don't move. And then this guilt starts coming on me. Like, what does everybody think? Like, they're going to think there's this because, my symptoms, if I'm not outwardly showing at the time, people are kind of looking at me going, and in my head, they're thinking, what's this guy? What a rude dude. Like, he's not getting up and helping this person.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
But we don't look like we have the disease. And if we're not having a moment of a side effect from that, then we look like the bad guy.
Yeah. And so now I've got this. So now I've got so the anxiety starts coming on me. Like, what is everybody thinking of me? Right.
Yeah.
I'm watching this person and trying to get this up, and they're struggling. And I'm just going like, why the heck am I flying today? I don't want to fly today. I just don't want to fly today. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But, all this traveling, and again, I don't travel as much as I used to, and obviously, based on how we started this conversation, you've probably traveled to like cooler places than I do. But, but it's important to find some hacks, right, and some things that we can do so that we can try to alleviate some of that anxiety, and we can just sort of, especially if we're traveling for a vacation, like if we're going on a vacation, and I'll preface this by saying this, Brian. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that I've talked to who have Parkinson's, who have. Like they got diagnosed and they're like, well, I guess I can't travel anymore. And they stopped traveling.
Wow.
And and I'm kind of going like, why'd you stop doing that? Like, I don't know. And if you're a person that likes to travel, and my wife and I love to travel, whether it be jumping on a plane, we love road trips and getting in the car and just driving and just going, going for covering the crossing the country. But either way, I travel like with a diagnosis of Parkinson's shouldn't stop you from traveling.
No, you just got to plan differently, right?
Exactly. And that's really what it is. It's adjusting and planning and being prepared. Really, I think it is. It's really being prepared. So, I think, we got from probably some hacks and some things that we can talk about that we can kind of lead our viewers and our listeners into. And hopefully at the end of the day, they'll get some tips and some tricks and make, those that didn't want to travel, maybe it'll encourage you to travel. And those that are traveling, maybe it'll give some things to think about to make it a lot easier for you.
Absolutely.
But Brian, I got a game for you.
Oh boy, here we go. Okay,
all right,
I'm always up for a good game.
Yeah, I got a game for you, and I'm calling it. You ready for this? I'm calling it Shaky or Fakey. Shaky or Fakey. So obviously, if you read between the lines on that, it's a true or false game, and I want everybody to play along. So if you're playing live, if you're here live, in the comments, I want you to answer the question and see if you can beat Brian, and see if you can outsmart him, because Brian is the self-proclaimed king, the crowned king of the self-proclaimed title. And what is that title, Brian?
I am an expert generalist when it comes to Parkinson's.
An expert generalist. So you are literally, if you play along with us right now, you are literally facing off with the king of the expert generalist of Parkinson's. And so I want to see if anybody can beat you. And here's how we're getting. So here's where we go. So this is where we're going to separate fact from fiction. All right, Brian, are you ready? You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go. All right, here we go. Number one, airport security. This is the question. So shaky or fakey, true or false? Shaky or fakey? Airport security allows unlimited medications in your carry-on as long as they're in the original bottles. Is that shaky or is that fakey?
I'm going to go all in on shaky.
Shaky. Let me see now. And you are correct. You are absolutely correct. Good job. You got to have that in the original. And I've learned that the hard way. I have lost. I take a blood pressure pill that has like a cellophane backing. Yeah. And they're in a 6-pack. So I was traveling for like just a couple of days, and so I don't want to take the big box, full of these cellophane packs. So I just grabbed cellophane. No, gone. Didn't have a prescription for it. Was trying to carry it on, and that thing was taken away. So, So Brian, you're 1 for 1. Look at this. All right, they're living up to your title. All right, now let's see if we can get you on this one. All right, here's question number 2. And if you're playing along, feel free to just put it in there. We'll see how you do. Here we go. All airlines offer extra carry-ons. So let me back up. All airlines offer free extra carry-ons for medical supplies.
I'm gonna go fakey.
And you are correct. I thought I'd stump you on that one for sure. Absolutely. I've seen people that, especially nowadays when we're talking about, bringing our meds, where they have Vylev and different things like that. And there's cases that we have to take our medication with. You have to have, if you're carrying it on the plane, it has to be in it has to be, labeled in its original packaging, and it has to be in your original carry-on. So you're 2 for 2, Brian. So you are perfect. You're definitely living up to it.
Just to say something, you're spot on with the take it in the original packaging. Don't try and make up your own. You can make your own list so you have it from a convenience perspective, but you got to have that original container with the original label on it. And gosh, I couldn't imagine being without my levodopa for one or 2 or 3 of my 3-hour periods.
Could you
Right.
imagine? Like, can you, like, I can't imagine it myself. I'm like, it's bad enough. My mornings are bad enough when I've been away
Right.
off of it for a long time. And to think about that for a second, can you imagine if that got taken away? If it got taken away, like, I actually probably wouldn't go, Brian.
Right.
I don't think I'd be able to go.
Well, let's say you're going to Mexico as an example, just making it up, or Jamaica. It's a vacation, not a work trip.
Exactly.
How are you going to get the prescription filled?
Great
Right?
question. Yeah, that's a very good question. That's one that I
important stuff. We're having a game here, but I just want the audience to know this is some important stuff.
That's it. That's 100%. It's a game, but it's educational, and hopefully, again,
Exactly.
these are things that we can work into our things. So that's a very good, very, very good point. Very good point. All right, I'm just going to ask you one more, and I think I'm going to get you on this one. You ready? Some Parkinson's meds are illegal in Japan. Shaky or fakey?
So I have never self-taught myself on that one. I'm going to go shaky.
This brief interruption is brought to you by no one, no sponsors, no miracle cures. No one paid us to say this. But if someone wants to sponsor us, we are absolutely available. In the meantime, take a deep breath, stretch something, maybe check if it's time for your next pill. And yes, we'll wait. Now back to the show, already in progress, unless Brian forgot to hit record.
You're going to go shaky, and you're 3 for 3, Brian.
Yeah,
you're 3 for 3. You nailed it.
Three, 4, I did know the other two. I'm not going to lie. The third one was a good. The third one was a good curveball. I like that.
You absolutely nailed it. That was I thought I'd have you on it. I thought I was trying to come up with like an obscure, crazy thing that I could put in there, and I thought that it sounded wild enough, But anyway, you are absolutely right. So shaky, and that's kind of an important point to think about. Is when you are traveling, is to maybe look ahead in the countries and make sure that everything you're taking over is illegal there and you'll be able to use. So that's a good point. So anyway, all right, how did you do? If you got all of them right, let us know in the chat if you knew them all. If one of us stumped you, if one of them stumped you, too bad for you and better luck next time. No, I'm just kidding. But if one of them stumped you, please let us know in the comments if you got them all, if you were 3 for 3, 2 for 2, 1 for 1, because if you were 3 for 3, you can join Brian's club. He's got a new club and it's called the Expert Generalist. I got to remember that one. Parkinson's Expert Generalist, and we'll give you more about that later. But anyway, that was kind of fun, Brian. I think
that was awesome.
I think that gets into it. But anyway, let's just dive into this travel a little bit more, and let's get into kind of some ideas on on where we need to start, right? So I think we start with the basics, right? So that's packing and medication, right? So Brian, when you're getting ready to travel, do you put your meds in a pill organizer, or do you keep them in the original bottles?
I have both. I live day to day out of the pill organizer.
Okay.
But I certainly have an inventory of the meds that are kept in a different cabinet. And I'm fortunate. I have to give credit, and probably every time we have a conversation around medication, I will give my wife full credit for organizing me in that regard. And she does it in 2-week increments. Pardon me. Which is great. So I've got 14 pill boxes on a Sunday night, all ready to go for the next 2 weeks, kind of thing, which is great.
Wow. So you do them for the day. So you kind of organize your day into one pill thing, and then you pull them out as you need them. And then by the end of the day, you could be out or whatever, but you kind of know.
I should be out because then I've done it correctly. So it also gives me that guide to follow, for lack of a better way of putting it. And the other thing is, I don't take just medication for Parkinson's. I have had a heart issue in the past, so I take pills for that. I've got some vitamins that I take. And then, getting to the age that I am, I have things that hurt, right? They're not broke, but they hurt. And like right now, I'm taking medication for a bad hip. And I don't know what the issue is there. There's some fluid on my hip, but if I didn't take that med once a day, I'm in a ton of pain. So it just keeps all of that in line, keeps me in line. quite
Yeah,
frankly.
absolutely. And that's a really good point because, it's not just that part. Like I actually take high blood pressure medication as well. So same
Yeah,
idea
you
where
got
it's
it.
sort of, you have to, combo them together and make sure they're right. And, the one thing with medication, and we kind of touched on this in the beginning, and I'll share my hack, if it's a hack. I don't know if it's a hack or not, but the way I take my medication. So we talked about, the time differences and the time
Mhm.
changes and stuff. And, 1 hour is not so bad, right? So I go to Toronto this week, and the 1 hour it's okay. I can figure that out. But
Yeah.
but now, like for example, I was at the World Parkinson Congress in last year in Spain. I mean,
Mhm.
now you're talking big differences, and everybody I spoke to when I was walking through, that was the big question: how do you manage your meds? What are you doing? Did you just flip them? Did you change them? Because now nighttime is day and day is nighttime, from home. And so what I've done and what I do, and I do this on a daily, whether I'm traveling or not, I don't take my pills at a prescribed time. I take them with a prescribed duration. So in other words,
Okay.
when I first wake up, like the second I wake up in the morning is I take my first dose, right? So if I normally take my dose at 6 o'clock in the morning, let's say, and I wake up at 5:30, I take it at 5:30. I don't wait till 6, right? Because it takes
Okay.
that time to get in. So, and then my prescription, my duration, my schedule is every 3 hours.
Yeah.
So whatever time I wake up, let's say it's 6 a.m., I take my pills and I set my timer for 3 hours. Right. And then at 9 a.m. it goes off, I take them. And then at noon I take
Okay.
them. At 3 I take them. At 6 I take them. 9, 12. So for
Yeah.
me, time differences don't matter if you put it from that perspective. So
Mhm.
I get on the plane at whatever it is. Let's say it's noon my time, and I just took my pills. Well, in 3 hours I'm going to take them. So it doesn't matter to me if it's 3 o'clock in the morning over there or it's, you know, 6 o'clock at night. It's just my duration is 3 hours, and I just keep that schedule no matter what that looks like. And so if I'm
Yeah.
up longer because the time, time differences, it doesn't matter. I need to take them anyway. So that's kind of my hack. I don't, again, it's not by time, it's by duration, and so that's how I do mine. I don't know if you're that way or not that way, or if you have a different philosophy or perspective on that.
I don't do it that way. I like what I heard. I think that's clever. I'm more along the lines of if I'm supposed to take them at 5:30 a.m., I'm within rounding error of that time frame. But I guess if you're taking them every 3 hours, I guess the only thing that would have me hesitate to do that would be if I take it at the beginning of the 3 hour set now, but I take it at the end of the 3 hour set of on the other end. What is the real gap?
Well, I mean that's the thing. And so for me personally, so I literally I take them, till I go to bed, if that makes sense, right? So 3 o'clock every 3 hours, then I go to sleep. So, generally speaking, my thing is this, especially now I'm still working, working with Parkinson's Canada.
Yep.
And so I have meetings and I have, times during my day. And a lot of times, so for example, when I wake up in the morning, it takes me about, I don't know, after I take my pills, I'm going to say 20 or 30 minutes for them to maybe 25, 30 to kick in and then I can start to move again. I can start to get loose. So if I stick to a prescribed time, let's say it was 6 a.m. every day, but then all of a sudden I had a 5:30 flight or a 6 o'clock flight,
Right.
I won't make it. You know what I mean? I got to change up. I got to pre-program my day. Other times too, if I have something like I'm doing an event and I know it's going to be at 3 o'clock that day, I will literally I'll go backwards, 12, 9 to see what time I have to take it and what time I have to wake up to make sure that I hit a schedule that's going to work for what I'm doing. So, as a matter of fact, I just thought of this when you said that, Brian. I'm thinking back to, this has been, now I've been on this levodopa. I mean, I started on a 4-hour schedule, to be honest. I started every 4 hours for about the first 5 years that I was on levodopa. And then it's down to 3. And I've been doing that now for almost 10 years. So the reality for me is that I'm thinking about it, and I don't think between my doctor and myself, I don't think we ever had a start time. I don't think we ever did it by time, to be honest. It was sort of wake up and start your clock. Anyway, that's just me. But I will say this: even if you don't do that on a regular, I think it's the best way to do it when you're traveling, because
Agreed.
You know what I'm getting at? Because it's
Yep.
just too hard. It's too hard to figure it out, and too hard to like. It's too stressful. You're going to spend your vacation. You'll be lying on the beach, right, trying to catch the rays, and in your head you're going to be going like, "Oh my God, wait a minute! What time did I take my pills? What time is that? What time is that at back home? What time is that in Toronto? And you know what? It's actually stressful. It's anxiety. It brings anxiety on.
Yep.
So for me, I think that's a hack that I would use personally. That's just throwing it out there. But anyway.
I totally agree.
Now, have you ever had any? And I'm asking this on purpose because this happens to me all the time. But for you personally, have you ever had any issues getting through airport security, or whether it be with your pills, anything like that?
No, but to be honest with you, I may not be a good example because, as I said earlier, the last plane I took was Friday, March the 13th, 2020, when we shut the world down.
Yeah.
I didn't fly again until after COVID was over. So like that was a 2.5 or whatever period window. And then when I did start traveling, it was all pleasure, no business. And yeah, I never had any challenges, and I wasn't doing a lot of it. I had anxiety around travel, going back to travel, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because of the side effects of levodopa, one of it is being close to a washroom. And, I pictured myself up at 30,000 feet in the air with a bathroom that I can't get access to. And the challenge is you don't always have to go to the washroom, but you feel like you have to. So you need to satisfy that need to understand, right?
Absolutely.
So when I came back from my first trip traveling by air, I made a very rudimentary spreadsheet up for a 2-week period, and I tracked my pills. And what I did was I tracked how many was I supposed to take at what time, how many did I take at what time to get to the answer. And then what it did was it allowed me to have a better understanding of when I was going to be freezing with the off and on syndrome, which we should explain to our audience. But once I became very comfortable with knowing when I should have that gap, because the on-off is as you come off that 3-hour medication, you need to ramp up the next 3 hours you're coming off to go on. And once I figured that out, so the first thing I figured out was from 8 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning, I didn't have an issue. There was a 12-hour window where I didn't freeze. I didn't have any challenges. So I just took that off the table, right? Mm-hmm. So that means I had to look at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. during the day. And what I learned was roughly when I would have the freezing of the on-off syndrome. And basically, I could plan ahead. So if I wanted to get a haircut, or if I was going to the dentist or to the library, I could do it where I wasn't going to be freezing partway through it, because freezing is like putting on cement cinder blocks for shoes and walking through quicksand. The example you use is the Tin Man. You're just stiff as can be, and you need somebody to spray that oil on you. So if you can get your head around that, which I did, I don't have a challenge there anymore. In fact, this past summer, Lori and I took a bus trip to the East Coast, and we would travel 3,500 kilometers in a week on a bus, and I had no challenge with that atmosphere traveling. Yeah.
Wow. So what about did you get stiff? So for example, when I flew back from Toronto, I do it was a 3-hour flight, right?
Yep.
And when I'm sitting in that seat for 3 hours straight and I don't move and I don't get up, oh my God, either trying to get out of that seat, it's like, wow, how do I get out? And it takes me a while again to kind of like get everything moving again. I can't imagine being that long.
So good news is we weren't the most senior of senior citizens on that trip. So there was other folks that, to your point, we had planned, scheduled stoppages, if you like, where you just, if you wanted to get out, stretch your legs, grab a coffee, whatever it might be, the organizers had that built in. which was great. And I sat at the front of the bus because I knew the couple that was putting the event on. So they sat at the front of the bus, and I took the microphone and entertained folks with jokes and had good times. Yeah, I'd look up trivia. We were going to Quebec City. It was one of our stops, and so I went to a Quebec City website and just grabbed a list of some neat questions. I didn't realize half the audience was teachers. That really put me in a bit of a spot.
What am I doing? Why did I do this?
Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I listen in grade 8? History lessons.
That's amazing. That always works out that way, right? Like why? Of all people to be doing it, but that's so that's an important tip right there, right? So obviously it was scheduled properly. You had enough breaks, times, or stretch movements, and that type of thing. And what I have to learn to do, and I'm not good at this, and I'll be honest, and I wish I was. But I need to get up and move every hour even. Like if I'm on a plane, I really should get up, stretch, move around a little bit, and that's something that I need to do because I don't do that. And I'll be honest, like on whenever I flew back this week, like I was waiting. You know how everybody, another one of my pet peeves about flying, you stop. And then people jump out of their seats and they start lining up in the aisle, right? And you can't. And like you look in the side, I'm like, hey, I can't even move yet. Like they're jammed in there. Well, my anxiety starts to raise because I'm kind of looking and I'm sitting there and I need to get out of these seats. I got to hold on to the seat up here and hold down here and pull myself out of those seats, and get myself through the aisle and around. And I mean, it's like peaking. I'm like, like I start looking at it. And is it going to work? Am I going to lose it? How is it going to happen? And then that walk from there to the baggage claim, because I haven't moved for 3 hours. That feels like the longest walk of my life.
It's like doing a charity walk almost, right?
Yeah, it's like I should be getting sponsored for every step. Everybody give me $1. Like we'll donate it to Parkinson's, because it's like, what is happening? Like it's just so hard. It's like the longest walk of ever. And so, I think I know the trick. I know the hack. I know that get up and move and do it. And I got to remind myself that, and it's crazy. But I think Brian, we're talking about kind of going through security and stuff, and when I think about it that way, and I think people obviously that have had DBS obviously are going to have a different journey than ours going through security. They're probably going through the special place and with the metal and whatnot. But do I look like a drug dealer or something to you? Like, would you
look like a professor? You don't look like a drug dealer.
But I'll tell you what, I always make this joke, like I must have the cleanest laptop of any person, because I get it wiped every time I go there. It's kind of like they kind of say to me like, hey, would you like us to clean your keyboard? They take this little thing and they wipe it. It's I'm joking, but they're always like checking it every time. And I keep thinking to myself, and then I'm wondering, is it the way I'm moving and or speaking that is
right?
Is it tipping somebody to say, I wonder if they're on something?
What kind of drugs is he carrying?
Maybe, like that stigma of like, he looks like he's shaky. It looks like he's tweaking. He looks like he's, needs something, or am I talking a bit slurred? Maybe I'm not even realizing it. And so that starts to, I'm thinking maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Have you had that happen to you? Like more prominently, like you were definitely called out?
Every time I go. I literally,
really?
I swear to you, I get in line, like I put my, my laptop up on the, in the case and send it down, and my sweater and my belt and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And I go wait for my bag, and inevitably, I mean, maybe not every time, but I'm talking at least 90% of the time, they got my bag over on the other side, and they're like, and they're calling me over, and they're like, we're just going to check your bag. And they open up my laptop. They open up my laptop, and they take the little swiper and they swipe across my laptop, swipe across. And then, 5 seconds later, they're like, okay, thank you very much. And I'm like, okay, you're welcome. Like, no problem. So, I don't know if that's a perception thing. Is that a me thing that I'm just thinking that that's what's happening? I don't know. It's something I'm thinking about. Maybe, if you're watching this, either live right now, let us know, or in the replay. Does that ever happen to you? Why do you think it happens? And do you think I'm right or wrong? Maybe it could just be me, Brent.
No, I think you bring an interesting point to the fact that you could be being centered out because of your Parkinson's. So let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Prior to having Parkinson's, would you say you were pulled over the same amount?
Prior to having Parkinson's, I was a pretty young punk.
Yeah, I guess you go back 15. Is it 15 years
Yeah,
this year?
yeah,
That's
15
true.
years or so. So I was a bit younger. I kind of looked,
Apples and oranges as far as how much travel you were doing, right?
yeah, that's true.
That's
Absolutely.
fair.
So,
That's
but I
fair.
think, Brian, I think, to be honest, I don't remember it as I remember it now. So I'm going to say no. I would say
Yeah.
when I did travel, I don't think so. I think it was just,
Yeah.
it was just kind of, I was a business guy. I was running through, I was just, doing my thing. And
Yeah.
I don't ever remember them really looking or checking me that way.
Okay. Yeah. Was I checked? Yes. Would I say it was a lot? I would say no.
Okay.
I would say no.
Interesting.
But I've only had Parkinson's since 2018, so I'm going on 7 years, right? So
you still got a ways to go. So maybe, and you know what?
Right.
Again, you're right, and maybe that's the thing. And it's, but again, it's interesting how we can have some experience of some things the same, right, and some things not.
exactly.
I think a lot happens as well, and I know personally, when I'm under stress or have anxiety, or I know that my symptoms are exaggerated, right? I know that they're
Yes.
they're more prevalent. So maybe, and for me, it's one of those things. I start thinking, I got to get through security. What time is it? When do I take my meds? How's this working? So I know I got a bit of heightened level of stress or anxiety,
Yeah.
and so maybe my symptoms are showing a lot more so than normal, and maybe I don't even
That makes sense.
realize it. And I think that's probably what it is. It probably is. And again, I don't know, but if you know what, don't leave me hanging. If anybody out there is experiencing something, to put it in the comments. I'd love to know.
Yeah.
But I say this, Brian, to say this is that this is what I worry about. Okay, I mean, I don't know why. This is almost like a therapy thing for me here. When we get on here and I start talking about all my worries and fears, and I'm not that guy, right? So, but
we're in a safe place, so it's all good.
Yeah, there you go. Right, there's no one, just you and I. We're just having a chat. So,
100%.
but the one thing I do think about is, so one of the main, or not a main thing, but one of the things they do now in airports they've done for a while is, you have to go through this little it looks like a pod. It looks like a stand-up suntan,
Yeah.
booth, and you go in there and they got these two little feet where you have to put your feet on, right? So I look down and there's these two steps, 2 feet. So they say put your feet on the 2 feet, and then they tell you to put your hands over your head, right, and stand still. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, number one, is this a test? Right? Is this like to see if I can do this or not? But how difficult, for somebody with Parkinson's? So I asked them this time. I said, I got there and I got my feet on the things. I mean, it's not long. It's fairly quick, but I got my feet down. I put my hands up. I'm, got everything shaking. Everything's going crazy. And again, I was at the good spot of my medication, and so I was doing good. And I finished. But there's some people that have a lot, their symptoms are a lot more than mine, right?
Yes.
And a lot, and a lot harder time. So I asked them. I said I went to the people running the thing, and I said, hey, listen, I have Parkinson's, and sometimes it's not easy for me to stand still like that and keep my balance and everything else. Is there a different option for someone like me? And they said, absolutely. They said, when you come up and we ask you to come in, just tell us that you have Parkinson's disease, or you have some balance issues, and we won't make you go through that. We'll go around. You can even sit down. And they'll do the old fashioned, just the beep, beep, beep thing, the scanner, where they beep, beep. And so I learned that. I asked that on purpose. So that we could talk about it. And so that is, so if you have any balance issues or you can't do that and you're looking at the machine, all you have to do is just tell them, and they will immediately, they'll bring you around. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is great news. And I appreciate you doing that. I did not know that because for me, Parkinson's started in my right arm, which is my dominant arm. And I'm, even to this day, washing my hair as an example, getting that arm up, if I have to put it up over my head and cross it over, I couldn't hold it that long. So that's good. I've got to get out of jail free card now. I love that.
Yeah. And, it's just, again, it's those things. And I think that's where we can't be shy as,
Right.
a person with Parkinson's we're advocating for ourselves. We're asking
100%.
questions, right? And so now
Yeah.
I know. right? Now I know. Now you know. We'll tell people, and people know. And the more we do that, the better it makes it. It's just going to make it easier for everybody. So I think that's like super important.
Well, it's part of the reason we're doing what we're doing is we want to make people with Parkinson's journey better than it was for us. So anybody that comes behind us and was diagnosed after Brian and Bryce, we want to make sure that they have a better experience. And this is just part of that.
Exactly, 100%. So that's what very well said. I think that is exactly what we need to do. And and to that point, and one of the things, and not to jump subjects, but
Sure.
you mentioned something earlier about being on and off, and what I was going to, right, and we said maybe we'd come back to that, and what I was going to say towards that as well is that for me personally, the reason I went from 4 hours to 3 hours, and then this is because of the on and off. So in other words, I'd be doing my thing, right? I'm doing my thing, and then all of a sudden, I would start feeling I knew the off was coming. And so for me, when my meds are starting to run out, I start to get my brain fog. I start to get this brain fog happening. I start to kind of my voice changes. It slows. My talking slows down. My tremor is coming stronger. My back. So I can slowly. I get a headache. Things start to happen. And so what I realized is that when I was getting to, after taking my pills, when I got to like that 3.5 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, 45 minutes.
Yep.
I was like, I'm like, okay, I got to take these pills. And then I got to wait 20 more minutes for the pills to kick in.
Right.
So whatever I'm dealing with, it's going to be that gap. And I said, no way. I'm not going to do that anymore. I said, so I took some notes of like, I timed myself. When was my medication running out? When would that medication run out? And it was, depending on what you're eating and how it doesn't matter. But anyway, really found it around that 3 hours and 15 minutes, 3 hours and 30 minutes is when it would start to wear off. So the reason why I moved to 3 hours was to eliminate the off period.
Got it.
Okay. So as my pills are starting to wear off, my new pills are coming in and they take 30 minutes and then they transition. And if I do it, if it's timed perfectly, which it never is, but you technically I'm eliminating that off from my life. And I like that.
So you were on a 4-hour schedule. You moved it to 3 to accomplish that. Brian thinking out loud. So if I was a 3-hour guy already, would I have to go to a 2-hour to achieve what you're doing from a 4 to a 3? Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, say it one more time.
So if you were taking your pills every 4 hours, but to overcome the freezing or take control of the freezing, the off period, if you like, you switched it to 3 hours. So because you knew that at 3 hours and 15 minutes, typically you were being impacted. So if you cut it back, it was I wouldn't say it was eliminating it, but it was probably decreasing it for sure. So if that's the case, if Brian, who was on the 3-hour program already, do I have to go to a 2-hour to achieve that same result that you are?
There's your question. And I think that's everybody. And again, when we say this, let's be really clear is, we're not medical experts, right? We're just giving you our own experience, right? Our own journey, but it's something to talk to your doctor about, right?
Agreed.
So from my perspective, though, just from me, it's just, my own experience with it. It's like, can you tell when your meds are running out?
I can. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then if you started to kind of journal that, right? So it's like, and just see if it's consistent. Because again, there's some days are different, some days are going to be more, some days be less, right? But if you get that consistency in it, then you'll say, holy smokes, it's like every, 2 hours and 30 minutes into it.
And it's 15, 20 minutes, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And then that's when I'd say, yeah, Brian, absolutely. Take that to your doctor, your next appointment and go, or call them and say, look, I've been monitoring this. It's every 2 hours. It's every 2 hours and 30 minutes. What are we going to do? So, and then what'll happen at that point is you're going to be given two choices. A, do we need to increase your medication? Right. And keep it at 3 hours. Right. Or do we keep your medication the way it is and we just shorten the in-between period? And that really obviously is up to your healthcare professional and you yourself as to what works best as your long-term solution. And again, you look great. Like you're doing really well.
Right.
You're not showing very many side effects of the levodopa. So, and hopefully, me as well. And I credit my doctor and Brian, I'll tell you something really funny because this, you have the hey, you have me. It's incredible to me, but I was so mad at my movement disorder specialist. I think I've told this story. I may have told you this before, but when I was diagnosed and we started getting we started trying to figure out how much medication to take, right? And so he says, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start you on one pill every 4 hours, right? And then we tried that for a few days, and it's like, oh, I still was, it wasn't that great. And he can say, how do you feel? I'm like, percentage out of 100. How do you feel out of 100? I'm like, oh, I feel like, 40%. I feel like 30%. He's like, okay. So then we increased it to 1.5 pills. And we kept increasing.
Yeah.
So finally, we got to this point, and I think I took like 5 pills at a time and 4 hours apart. And holy man, did I feel good. I'm 100%. I am normal. I'm going to rock this thing. My God, I feel like I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I went in, I'm like, and he goes, how's it going? I said,
put me in, coach.
You are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm 100%. I feel great. And he said, excellent. Now we're going to pull you back. I said, pardon me? And he goes, yeah. He says, I don't want you to be great. I want you to be good. And I said, no. I want to be great. Yeah. I want great. He goes, no, I want you to be good.
Interesting.
And I said, why? Why are we doing this? What are you doing to me? Why are you doing this to me? Is what I said. And he said, because I want you to take, I want you the side effects of the pills. I want you to take as less pills as you possibly can
to be good
per day to push away, that type of thing. So now I look back 15 years later and I'm like, thank you, doctor. I appreciate good advice because it's working working well. So that's where I don't want to screw that up. It's like, and that's why I decided at that moment, he kind of left it up to me. He said, do you want to increase your dosage, right? Or reduce the time in between. So I went down to 3. But I don't know the next time, Brian, I don't know from that moment on if my next one might be, I don't know if you reduce beyond 3 or if you add.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know.
So I'm at 3, so I don't know.
Yeah. But I definitely, if you're experiencing those off periods, 1,000 times would say, advocate and ask and try and experiment. And my doctor and I have a really good relationship, and he knows that I'm up to trying things. So let's experiment it, right? Like I might have a bad day, but he's like, we try it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then we'll just revert back. So whatever you do it with perhaps your doctor. But if you are struggling with off times, it's time to make a medication.
Your point's well taken. You got to include your doctor in that conversation. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, 100%. I don't do anything without him. Just saying, even if I want to experiment, and I'll be, if I see something on YouTube or something on the news and it's something like a probiotic or something, I'll be like, hey, I saw this, I want to try it. And he's like, and he'll give me his advice, and and he goes, okay, and you want it, and so then we decide together, should I give it a shot? And see how it goes. As an example, I think we talked about last time I started taking the extended release levodopa through the night. And it was like, let's try this and see how it goes. And thankfully it's working really well. So we continue down that path. Right. So
no, good call out.
I think that's important. I think it's something that we need to, that's one thing Parkinson's has done. And I don't know, it sounds to me like I think we're a little different in this area, but I am not I'm not a planner or an organizer.
I am.
I knew it. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. I'm a fly by the seat of my pants guy. Right. So for me, to have lists and diaries and, is really not me. That's a struggle, but it's important. So you mentioned something earlier about, you have, I can't remember exactly what you said earlier. You talked about your list or your spreadsheet or something.
Yeah. So what I did was, and I may be a guy that likes to do that sort of thing, but I'm a simple person when it comes to putting that stuff together. So I basically took a 2-week period, and it was taking pills every 3 hours, including in the night. So and then all that was taking my prescribed and covering it. And then if I would capture what time did I actually take the pills versus when I was supposed to take them. And when I did that, did I have a freezing episode? And if so, how long? And that's where I was able to figure out that the 12-hour period between 8 o'clock at night and 8 o'clock in the morning, when I was sleeping but getting up twice in the night to take pills, I was not freezing at all. I never had any, and I still haven't. Going on year 7. So that 12-hour period, I don't fuss with. It's managing itself, quite frankly, through my behavior. But from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so I take pills at, let's say, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You can do the math. I would say, so I don't wake up like you do and have challenges. Morning is actually good for me, other than the sleep deprivation part.
Interesting.
That part is painful, and that has to do with 2 things. 1, it's a side effect of levodopa. 2, I have to get up twice in the night to take the levodopa. Now, I take 1 pill before bed at 10 o'clock. I take 3 pills at 2 in the morning, and then at 5 to 6 in the morning, to your point, somewhere around 5 to 6 in the morning, I take 3 more. So I take 3 pills 7 times a day, which is 21 hours. The last 3-hour period, which is 10 o'clock at night, I take 1. So I'm taking 22 pills of levodopa alone in a 24-hour period. So I now know when I'm going to freeze and about how long it's going to last. But I mentioned on our chat last week that I was out playing pickleball. It was 1:30. I take my pills at 2, and I actually froze prematurely. Now, I had levodopa with me because I always carry some extra.
Oh,
so that just goes in my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
But I had just started the match, so I couldn't leave the court, and I had to play frozen. But that's the first time something like that has happened. It's treated me pretty good. And if it happens once in a while, no biggie. Nobody's giving out Stanley Cups after Brian plays pickleball. Trust me. They're not.
Darn it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're so 100% right. It was, I have extra pills everywhere. I've got them hidden in my car. I've got them in my desk. I've got them all around. And I'll even put them in my pockets and whatnot. And,
that's why we need the Pez machine, just for our extra inventory.
That's exactly where we need. There's no question, right? And it's just a pop. No one even know. Look at that guy. He's like taking candy again, and just popping him in your mouth. It's like it's wild. I have you ever like I don't know why this is even a crazy question, but having said that, have you ever had somebody, and you've been pretty open about your diagnosis, you've never been a person to kind of shy away from it, but have you ever had anybody where you've like reached into your pockets and different things, or you had to empty your pockets and like, holy smokes, man, you got a lot of pills, or something to that degree? Anybody ever commented on it?
No, I had somebody give me a look once, and I would say it was in the last 6 months. We were at a restaurant here in Whitby where I live. And when we were leaving, so I was freezing, and I should have been. It was in that window, but I was trying to put my coat on. Again, my dominant arm, and it doesn't behave. So somebody looked at me like, "Oh, the drunk can't get his coat on." Right. They didn't say anything. We made slight eye contact, so I didn't say anything. I just continued to, I said to Lori, you just slide that arm in for me. And so she slid it in and we were good to go. But that's the only time I've had an exterior experience like that.
It's funny. And that was one of my biggest concerns with Parkinson's too, was like, when am I not going to be able to go out and do things anymore? And what that meant, when I picture that in my head, like for example, I'd think, okay, and we talked about this last episode about walking our daughters down the aisle, like, am I going to be able to? And then, I said last week, now I'm at a point where it's like, if I have to crawl, I'll crawl. right? If I had to, crawl and walk her down the aisle, I would do that. At the time of diagnosis, though, when I asked that question, will I be able to do this? It's that perception of what are people going to think of me? What is it going to look like? And I think that's where we have to get to a point of who the hell cares.
Well, I would have to imagine that if you're walking your daughter down the aisle at her wedding, whether you're crawling or otherwise, that audience is going to be a pretty safe zone, because we don't invite enemies to an event like that. So you're going to be in a good place anyways.
True enough. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
It's like friendly. It's like it's all friendlies around there, right? Like for sure.
100%. But I get where you're coming from entirely.
It
was, so the summer of 2018 was when I was going through my diagnosis, because I was diagnosed at December 5th, 2018, which was 2 days after my 58th birthday. But my second daughter got married July 2018.
Okay.
Couple things with that. So, and I was wanting to run them down the aisle because I was so excited, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with this one, it didn't play out that way. I wasn't in a good place. I hadn't been diagnosed. I wasn't on levodopa, but I was having the effects of Parkinson's. So I actually said to Lori, I'd like you to walk with me. And Lori's my wife. I said, let's the two of us walk Julie down the aisle. And that was fine by all.
Yeah.
And then, I can't believe I did this. We're at the reception, and we're standing at the side of the stage at the bottom of the stairs, as the person before us was just finishing their speech. I knew I was next. And again, I asked Lori to just come up and be with me as a crutch, to hold me up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we were standing there, and I looked her in the eye and I said, yeah, I can't do the speech today. And she just looked at me and goes, what? And I said, no, I don't think I can do it. Then we moved over to where the stairs were waiting to go up on the stage. And that table was full of her husband, Ryan's, part of the wedding party. It was the boys, the best man, the ushers. And I just started chatting with them. And then we started laughing. And then when I got up on stage, I said to Laura, I kind of pushed her away. No, I'm okay. I'm good. I got this. and I delivered the speech, but it was a roller coaster of emotion, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be in a better place just because of your experience. I was just getting started, and I didn't know what. Right? I didn't know what it was. It takes.
So you're just worried. You were worried. You were just worried that you weren't
in general
was going to happen.
I was worried I couldn't handle it.
What do you think what was your brain telling you? What was the worst thing? What do you in that moment? What was the worst? What was the worst thing that could happen in your brain at that time?
It's a great question. I'll say I didn't go there. I don't know what I was thinking, other than, my brain was messed up when you think about it, right? Like it's a very intricate piece of machinery, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think I was just out of sorts.
Yeah. There's no
I
question.
was just out of sorts. Because then when my third got married, did the speech, walked down the aisle. Yeah, it was fine. But I did notice on my third daughter's wedding, which was 20, I should know this, eh? It was June 18th.
Well, if she's watching, you should know it. If she's
2022.
No,
no kidding. At any rate, I did use the extra pills for that event, and it worked great. We had the first dance and everything was fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was good. But
I do that too with events and stuff. I normally, with those extras, I'm always at maybe one. I don't go crazy, but maybe one extra. Yeah, just to kind of make sure that it's going to be there.
You want that satellite to stay locked in.
Yeah, exactly. Just stay hanging over me. I wonder. And it maybe not, Brian. I'm going to say this though. I think this is what I think. The psychology behind it. This is what I
Okay.
think. Okay, and I could be wrong. It might not be applicable, but I think it is. I know for me it was, and I go back to that when I can't do it. I can't do it again. It's what's going to look like. What happens if I stop? I freeze in the middle and I can't talk. And then your brain's going, am I going to put all the attention on me? Is everybody going to feel sorry for me? Is it my am I going to embarrass my daughter? Am I going to, that type of thing? I think all those they're awful thoughts. They're fleeting thoughts. But I really believe it's from that exterior side of it, because when I think about it, again, like when I'm thinking about that moment and I say, I can't go, I can't do it, I can't follow through. And you think about what am I thinking at that moment? What's going to happen? I'm going to embarrass myself or my daughter. That's something's going to happen here, and I won't, and I don't want it. I don't want people to see it. I don't want, that type of thing. And so and good for you to plow through it and do it, because I think that's for advice purposes and when we're talking to people, that's all we can do. Right? We got to just, it's like close your eyes and jump. There's no, and it might happen, Brian. It might happen, right? And it might. But at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that could happen if it does happen? And really, again, we're not just going to like fall over and pass out, but maybe we just stall. Maybe we freeze. And, and maybe in that moment though, the realness of just us being us. And I think by doing that and by pushing through, I mean, listen, if you didn't do it, if you didn't push through, right? If you didn't push through, you wouldn't have that story to tell today. You wouldn't be able to encourage people by it and say it, here's what I've done. Here's what I did. So I think by doing that, by us pushing through the things that are trying to stop us and hold us back, I think a lot of it's mental. A lot of it's, getting that stigma. And I'll be honest, I think, that song, there used to be a song back in the day that You're So Vain, You're So Vain.
Simon,
Yeah, you probably think the song is, that was me. I'm so vain. I didn't want a hair out of place. I wanted to look good, feel good, and that was honest to goodness.
Yeah.
I'm like, why in the world would I get a disease that has an outward, presence which is just the most challenging thing for me on the planet.
Yeah, as I was going through my diagnosis, every time a test came back negative, it was a victory, because it was knocking some good stuff off a list, right?
Yeah.
And since then I've seen people diagnosed with, God forbid, ALS and this cancer and that cancer, whatever. And I'm not sitting here saying I was happy because I wasn't them. I was just happy because I was still moving forward. And in fact, by the time I was told what I did have, I was actually relieved.
Yeah.
It was actually, and I remember, you a couple, you'd get together with friends or whatever, and, they hadn't seen you yet. So they felt compelled to say something, which was great. And 9 times out of 10, they apologized for something that they had nothing to do with, but it's natural, right? It's how they feel. It's how we feel. I just wanted to get on recovery road and be in charge. That's what I did with my heart surgery. I got back on recovery road. My heart was back in my chest. It was up to me what the outcome was going to be. And that's what it is today. And that's why I don't mind telling people that I have Parkinson's. And I don't tell them because I'm tripping and looking like I'm drunk or whatever. I look like this.
Yeah.
It either comes up in the conversation or it doesn't. I think we spoke last week. Like, I hadn't told anybody at pickleball that I had Parkinson's. It's funny thing is, I went out this week, new couple. They were just back from their month away in the sunny south. God bless them. Good for them. They missed all that snow shoveling. But I told them, I can't tell you why I picked them and not somebody else. Because I don't care. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm still going to be me.
Yeah.
But there are things, and you mentioned this last week, there are things that we can't do fully or we can't do anymore. And you mentioned, you don't care how much it snows because you can't shovel it anymore. Yeah. So you've hired someone to do that for you.
Yeah.
We're not there yet because my wife is healthy. So, and I'll still go out and do some snow shoveling, but I couldn't do it by myself.
Right.
You know, she comes out and helps, which is great.
Exactly. And that's
In fact, I help her.
Yeah. I was going to say,
Truth be told.
I mean, that's really what it is. It's not right. When we're when someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's, it's not a death sentence. It's not the end, right? But
Right.
it is though. A change, an adapting, a planning, and
It is.
that you just if you and a slow down. Honestly, let's be honest, we have to slow down, right? We slow down. Things are, we're naturally slower, but we have to slow it down. The one thing I used to be able to multitask. Oh my God, I could balance 18 plates and have all these things going on. And go into a restaurant. I literally in the day back in the day, this may be why I was successful in my work and stuff. Is I honestly, Brian, I could go into a restaurant and be talking to you and I could be having this conversation in a restaurant. There could be somebody over here beside us having another conversation. And I could actually listen to them at the same time and know what they were talking about while I'm talking to you. I could have all these things going on. My brain could multitask them all together. And now I have trouble like chewing gum and listening to something and walking down the street at the same time. Like I have to do everything piece by piece and one by one. And it's different. It's not the way it was, but it's the way it is. And so what? I do it.
Yeah, you gotta listen to your body.
That's a very good point. You gotta listen to exactly what it's saying, good or bad, right?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. How's your week coming up? You got anything going on? You busy this week?
Always lots going on with my involvement with Parkinson's Canada, which I really enjoy. I've actually been asked to speak in front of an audience at the end of March. I don't have all the details yet. I'm meeting with that lady tomorrow to wrap up what that looks like. So, but the interesting thing with that is we've taken it from a keynote to a fireside chat, which is kind of like this, right?
I love that.
I think fireside chats are a lot better, quite frankly. But at any rate, I'm excited for that, and I'm working with her on putting that together. So
that's amazing.
Some more research to do and things to do there, because I haven't, in my experiences with Parkinson's Canada so far, I haven't really done any speaking of any sort. And when I was a spokesperson for the Heart and Stroke Foundation, I probably did thousands. Frankly, of talks for them. I spoke from gymnasiums for Jump Rope for Heart up to CEO events for climbing the 7 towers of downtown Toronto. So, and everything in between. So when I didn't want to get up and speak at my daughter's wedding, it was like, are you kidding me? She's like, that's your comfort zone.
That's the wheelhouse.
No kidding. So I've got that, and Tuesday I've got my pickleball, which I look forward to every week.
That's awesome. That's amazing. It's funny you said that. That was the one thing too, as well, for me is speaking. It was sort of my wheelhouse and what I did, and that's when I started, with Parkinson's. I never knew, when I was diagnosed, I knew my grandmother had it, so I saw her shake all the time. Right, I saw her shaking a lot. I saw, a decline in lots of different things, but I never once thought about speaking. Memory recall, these type of things. And man, that was sort of like, wow, that was like one of those things that, again, I never would have thought of. But I don't think a lot of people know that. So, so good for you to step out and do those things. I mean, it's like old hat, right? Something you're comfortable with, but and in that too, there's change and it progresses and things are going to happen and change, and and to that encouragement to anybody else too, it's like then just you change with it. Like when I do my events now, I used to be able to go out with no script. Like I would just go out and we're talking about this, no problem, no matter what the subject was, and I'd go out and I do a presentation or a speech on or questions and answers. And it was fine. And then all of a sudden it transitioned into, okay, now I got to kind of go with like some high level notes, like what remember this, some talking notes to now where I actually have some cue cards in my pocket just in case, because that memory recall is not quite there. So I have to prepare in advance, right, to eliminate the fear of kind of like that type of thing. So
and you get part of the side effects of Parkinson's is, I call it soft voice. If I'm going to do a 30-minute keynote at a lunch and learn, I'll start off strong at the beginning, but you can put a microphone on me, it'll just be loud or quiet.
Loud or quiet. I like that. I like that. Loud or quiet. I had the great privilege this past week to do kind of an interview / chat with. Have you ever heard of? There used to be this Canadian band, and it was in the early '80s, and they were called Martha and the Muffins, and they had this hit song.
Echo Beach, absolutely.
Beach. All right, okay,
That to me that is doc music, absolutely. I still have that. I have that song on my Spotify for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. I love it. Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing Mark and Martha. Martha from Martha and the Muffins, and Mark is the other kind of co-creator of Martha and the Muffins, and he wrote Echo Beach. She sang Echo Beach, and it was really cool. And actually, Martha was diagnosed with Parkinson's. She's been living with Parkinson's now for 23 years, I think.
Wow.
And it's actually why they stopped touring and kind of radically changed their life. And she has a new song. I encourage anybody to actually, maybe we'll put the link in the description below later of just a link to their song. It's called Slow Emotion, and she wrote it not as it's not about Parkinson's, but it is about Parkinson's, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It's like a rally cry of what it was. And I was inspired as we went through the interview, and I was talking to them because it's something, Parkinson's took it away. Right. It took it away. And she was mad and frustrated. And it was the thing that she loved to do. And it took some time. She modified it. She started, doing children's songs and working in schools up. But she's like, well, why can't I? Her big dream was always, Mark's big dream was to write a song that, hits a number one hit. And her song was to sing with Paul McCartney.
Nice. I love Paul McCartney.
And so she was but she kind of lost that for a while, and then she said, God darn it, why can't I still sing with Paul McCartney? Why can't that be a dream of mine, right? And so she wrote this slow motion song, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. Nice. She actually got a bunch of people with Parkinson's to sing backup. It's really cool. So we'll put the link in the description below. But it just reminded me of that, what you just said, Brian. It was like, there's something she loved to do. She allowed it briefly to stop her, but she's just going to go forward with it now.
We have Parkinson's. It doesn't define us. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, you're darn right.
We can do whatever we want. Don't get me started on that one.
There it is. Right. It's like the sky is the limit. Right. There is no limit, and we can
absolutely.
Amazing. Well, you know what? I think that's it, Brian. I think this is a wrap. I think that's a wrap on this episode.
This was a great chat. I learned a lot. I learned the whole Japanese issue with the medication, which was kind of interesting.
There you go.
This was a good chat. I really enjoyed it.
I meant to say we had a conversation. So Therese Byrne was playing along with us, and she said, "You have me shouting the answers at the screens," and she was 100%. So far, she is in your club, Brian. She's in your club.
I'm sorry. What was her name?
It's either, excuse me if I get this wrong, it was Teresa or Therese or Therese.
Okay.
Therese Bryn. Therese Bryn?
If she wants to send her address in to you, I would be happy to send her an autographed copy of my book called From Survivor to Thriver, which I wrote on my heart disease journey. But it has information. It's really a personal story, my personal story of overcoming heart disease, from symptoms and diagnosis to recovery road to walking my three daughters down the aisle. I'd be happy to send her a copy of that book.
All right. Well, there you go, Teresa. If you want to do me a favor, and you can there's a link. If you go to the YouTube, the channel, in the About section, you can either go on, and my email address, there is an email address. I think it is office@bryceperry.org. office@bryceperry.org, or go to send us a DM on Instagram. The link is in the About Us in YouTube, and send me your address, and we look at there it is. So look at that. That's amazing, Brian. Thank you. I didn't even know we had prizes. So guess what? This could be it might be a segment we'll put on there, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm
up to the challenge. I think it's great.
Well,
I'm learning lots.
Well, there you go. Me as well. I think it's fun, but I'm obviously going to have to come out with a stronger game next time, because both of you were 100%. So be prepared, Brian. So
I warned you. I'm competitive.
Be prepared, right? Be prepared. Well, I'll tell you what. Well, I think that's a wrap on this episode.
Perfect.
right, of Life in Motion, the Parkinson podcast. So if you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button and subscribe, and maybe drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Brian and I both scour the comments. We want to go through them and get back to people.
Absolutely.
You did it. You made it through another episode of Life in Motion. That's 20 to 30 minutes you could have spent folding laundry, Googling your symptoms, or rearranging the 14 pill bottles on your nightstand. Instead, you hung out with Bryce and Brian. That's friendship. Or questionable time management. Either way, we're grateful. Be sure to follow the show. Leave a review. Or just yell, "I have Parkinson's and I'm fabulous," into your backyard. We'll hear you. Probably. New episodes drop regularly, unless we both forget. Until next time, keep laughing, keep shaking things up. And if you find our train of thought, please return it.